welcome back to the Titanic sinks. Chapters 13 and 14. Next week is the final two chapters, and then we move on to the next series in my kid book series, The Hobbit. That's bound to be interesting. Anyway, let's get to work. Chapter 13. April 15th, 1912, 1:55 a.m. After the last of the lifeboats left the Titanic, an eerie quiet came over the ship. The chief baker, Charles Holt Hin, was keeping busy. He walked up and down the now empty promenade on A deck, grabbed deck chairs and found them off the ship. The chairs splashed loudly in the water below. In tanking, the flying chairs will give the Titanic survivors something to grab onto. "You won't be alone now," Orgy muttered to himself, tilting deck lures beneath his feet. Around him, the bright electric lights began to buzz slightly as they dismissed and burned red. Once again, headed uphill towards the stern of the Titanic. It would be the last part of the ship to go under. Up on the boat deck, Jack Layer felt strangely calm. He was as a group of crewmen struggled to unlash a pair of castle boats still on the roof of the officers' quarters. The deck was pitching forward so steeply that it was next to impossible to free the two boats. Jack stood quietly chatting with a friend, Milton Lund, as songs of people streamed past them to the stern of the ship. Behind Jack and Milton, the band had stopped performing upbeat tunes. And now they played quiet, full hymns. "The deck is getting steeper," Milton said. "It is," Jack agreed. Out over the water, a few hundred yards away, he could see half-empty lifeboats dying to sea. Jack had seen his mother into one of the boats. He had prayed his father and made it to one of them too. "What do you say we make a swim for it?" Jack suggested, lying towards the boats. The boats aren't that far, and many of them have plenty of room. Milton looked down the black, frigid water and grimaced. "I can't swim," he said sheepishly. He looked back at the band, which had just started a new song. "I still can't believe she'll sink," he said, shaking his head. "What do you say we take our chances in Titanic?" Jack smiled briefly and patted his friend on the shoulder. "Sure thing," he said. "We'll stick together no matter what." No matter the selfish, Jack Phillips continued sending out very weak distress call. Held by dappled life jacket over his partner's shoulders. Phillips didn't even look up. "Man, you have done your full duty," a tired voice said. When I turned startled, Captain Smith stood toward the wireless office. "You can do no more," the captain continued. "Abandoning you, Captain. Now it's every man for himself. That's the way you think of it on this kind of time. Every man for himself. With that, the captain left. I went to the door and looked out. Water was creeping up the boat deck. The voices overhead appeared above, where the two men were desperately trying to feed the last two castles. Inside the wireless office, Phillips continued tapping at the distress call. He was hoping for a miracle, then saw a nearby ship where he had to call and come before it was too late. You heard the captain, Wright said, returning to the office. We should clean up what we can. Wright and ducked behind the curtain, separating their bunk. On the wireless office. When he turned back, he saw Wright's left working man with Phillips, trying to see the life jacket off Phil's back. Stop! Wright yelled, jumping on the man. The man shoved Wright away and turned back to Phillips. And finally thrown aside his headset. Phillips and the man wrestled. Veit tried desperately to get the life jacket. Wright jumped at his feet and grabbed him from behind, pinning his arms. Phillips hunched the feet, slumped over unconscious. Come on! Phillips panted out of breath. Let's clear out. Until wireless operators left in the cabin, as ice cold water trickled onto the deck. This way! Wright yelled, pointing to the two lifeboats on the roof of the opposite quarters. He was torn as his partner rushed away from him, staring at the ship. It dissipated into the crowd. That was the last Wright ever saw him. Wright scrambled up the roof of the officer quarters when the two men used a knife to cut the ropes holding the boat to the roof. Hey, it's ready! Someone called out. Hold it to the deck. Hold it up the boat. Hell, it's the bloody cheap. Well, let's use the odds, man suggested. Help them and get on the deck to the roof. We can slide the boat down with them. The man pulled to slide up the oars. The Titanic tilted forward. People screamed in terror as the stern of the ship rose higher and higher from the water. The crewmen tried lowering the boat down the oars, but the angle was too steep. They lost their grip, and the boat crashed to the deck below. Wright jumped on the roof and got up on the boat's oars. Locks. At that moment, the Titanic lurched forward. The ship tilted forward at a crazy angle, and the tiny castle boat slid down the deck with Wright hanging on, dragged behind it. The last thing Wright saw was Captain Smith standing at the edge of the boat deck. Brave old man took one last look around and dived into the sea. The next second, Wright was engulfed in the ACC. The water temperature was only 28 degrees Fahrenheit. And when they came to the surface, his tired body was numb. I looked around wildly. The sky was pitch black. You could hear his breathing echoed out of the water surface. The night was as dark as the grave. Where are the stars? He wondered. Heart began to pound and panic. Am I really dead? Then suddenly, Ryder realized he was trapped under the lifeboat. Ryder took a deep breath and closed his eyes. He touched his body and plunged into the frigid water. He came wildly and desperately trying to pull himself down. Ryder swam until he thought he was clear of the boat. Then he stopped kicking and let his life jacket pull him up. His head broke the surface. Ryder blew water from his nose and mouth. Shook the water from his face. The overturned boat was floating a few feet away. Ryder swam to it and managed to pull himself on. Exhausted, he lay silent for a few minutes, panting in the cold night air. Chapter 14. Monday, April 15, 1912. 12:20 a.m. 2:20 a.m. A huge wave floated the boat deck as the Titanic pitched forward. Jack Leia clung desperately to the rail. He lost his horror as hundreds of people rushed up the deck, struggling to stay ahead of the wave. Most of them were washed under. "Let's go!" Jack called to his friend Milton. "All right." Milton threw his leg over the rails and stood there holding on. The two young men could not wait any longer. They had to jump at the ship, risk being trapped in the Titanic when it went down. Jack strapped the rail. The two men shook hands. "You're coming, aren't you, boy?" Milton asked, terror in his eyes. "I'm with you," Jack said, unbuttoning his coat. Milton let go of the rail and slid down the side of the Titanic. He hit the water. As soon as he swept up in the turning point from the windows of the deck. Milton had been sucked back into the ship. Jack stood at the rail and closed his eyes, gathered the courage, and jumped as far as he could from the Titanic. Icy water stabbed Jack like 1,000 knives. They plunged beneath the surface. And kicked furiously, and the mass submerged, gulped clean air, treading water, desperately trying to breathe. And that's when he gathered his wits. Jack's with his life, hanging away from the Titanic. After a few moments, he turned around the water and gasped at what he saw. The Titanic was about 40 yards away. It stood out, still badly lit against the starry night sky. The stern of the great ship rose higher and higher above the water. So hundreds of people, screaming in terror, and hold as far as the stern as possible. Dozens of them slipped down the deck and was swallowed up by the water. Those who managed to hang on looked like swarming bees. They clung to the rails of the great ship. They dropped, painfully and in groups, on the Titanic. Then came a low, thundering boom deep inside the ship. The tower's box was like spurred from her smokestack. Jack lost in horror, so the smokestack tore free and shot forward like a missile. It slammed into the ocean. Catching dozens of people who struggled in the one beneath it. The final impact made a huge wave roll away from the Titanic. The flight wave engulfed Jack and carried him farther on the doomed ship. When he came to the surface at last and shook the stinging water from his face, Jack could not hardly believe his eyes. A few feet away from him was an overturned lifeboat. With a few powerful kicks, Jack made it to the boat, held onto it, and turned towards the Titanic's last awful moments. The huge ship was now doing a headstand. Its massive stern sticking hundreds of feet straight out of the water. Right next to the light still burned. Then suddenly they blinked and went out. And lost back on for a second. Then the Titanic went dark. Boom, boom, boom. A vast, deep, low sound rumbled over the surface of the water. The ship's heavy machinery and cargo had come loose and dropped into the boat of the Titanic. The 3 engines, and 29 boilers, dozens of cars, stores, all the luggage, thousands of plates, glasses. Everything aboard the ship plunged forward. The boom faded, only to be replaced by the screams of hundreds of passengers and crew members who still managed to cling to the deck. The ship hung in a vertical position for what seemed like an eternity. Jack lost a nod too fascinating to be afraid. A dark ship loomed high above, like a giant black finger pointing to the starfield sky. Then crack, crack, crack. With a series of sharp metallic sounds, the Titanic split into 2. The water filled about face down, plunging into the abyss. The stern settled back for a few minutes. The stern settled back for a few seconds. Then began to tip forward. More screaming cable dropped from it into the freezing water below. The stern continued to rise until it almost straight up. Charles, oh, again, one a handful of men standing on the back end of the ship. The men with rubber and giant propellers glistened in the sunlight before them. Linked their feet with the paint words. RMS Titanic. Behind them, his flag hung limply from the ship's flagpole. From all around came the screams of people clinging to the ship's rails, or facing the water below. "She's floating!" one of the men called. "She's going to float!" The Titanic hung in its upright position for a few more minutes. Then the men standing on the ship's stern felt a light shudder and rumble beneath their feet. The bulk of the Titanic began to twist. One of the men lost his balance, fell, screaming into the water. The Titanic slowly began its final dive. "Let's jump for it!" One by one, the men leaped off the stern of the ship, lashing into the water below. The stern was dropping slowly straight into the sea. Looking fell so he was riding down an elevator. He got his balance as the Titanic made his final plunge. Then, just as the water splashed over the stern, little Geen dipped back, stepped away from the ship, and began to tread water. The white ball behind him disappeared. Beneath the surface, with a faint gulp, the Titanic was gone. Charles Geen was the last man off the ship. He left the sinking Titanic without even getting his hair wet. So that was chapters 13 and 14. Next week, the final two chapters, 15 and 16. See you then.